I'm glad we had so many people join our spring assembly virtually. I find this a little awkward with the silence, so I'm unmuting myself, although we're going to start in a few minutes. I posted on there how many people are multitasking because you can see Colleen's eyes and other people's eyes go back and forth. So you honestly get the perspective in today's technology, how you can get so much done and still have time for naps.
I wish.
Well, I'm not hoping we have a small group, but I'm kind of excited if we do have a small group because I'm going to do this a little bit differently. Rather than muting everybody, Effective Club Meetings is really an interactive training that I do at PETS every year. And so when Deb asked me to do this, I said, Deb, it's facilitation, it's not training. I said, how do I get everybody to participate? We will do a lot of different things on the chat room, but I think Colleen and Jerry, I think we'll just unmute everybody if we don't get too many more people. We'll probably honor raising our hands, and I can look at the screen and see everybody right now. So that might be a good way to do it. And or I can lean on Jerry and Colleen to see if there's some people that want to interject. There'll be time certainly within the presentation that would lend itself to open it up for some comments. And so we'll try that. If it gets a little wonky, then we'll mute everybody. Just guess we can do that. It's the button my wife would love to have. The John mute.
I'm going to mute myself until I'm done eating my breakfast because nobody needs to hear that.
I know. I just had a banana, but I got up really early, so I'm about ready for second breakfast. Early, so. And it's interesting where everybody sits too, and I view out just the front of the house of the street, and the things that you see are pretty crazy. I just saw my cat getting chased by another cat down the street. I hope he's okay. He's faster. The other cat's pretty fat, so let's see how that plays out. I see everybody walking their dogs, and cars going too fast down my street. Okay, so it looks like we have about 20 folks. It's 9 o'clock. And so I'll share my main screen now. And Colleen, tell me if this is working okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to click one more button. Still working okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Once again, my name is John Grisco. I am from the Greater Spokane Valley Rotary Club. And our support folks in this session is Jerry and Colleen. Raise your hand or wave your hands there. So they'll help me with co-hosting questions throughout this series. So we had a little bit of an overview with John Bushnell, but know that the chat room is going to be used heavily today. But also it looks like I'm hoping to have some live interaction because we have only about 20 folks in this meeting. We'll end probably closer to 10 minutes before, but no later than 5 minutes before, so you can get to your next session. And during our rehearsal times, we have been kicked off a few times. So if that were to happen, just go straight back to the link and try to log back on. And we're just going to truly hope that that doesn't happen. I need to change my view if I can. Sorry. Okay. All right. All right. So we will get started. So the key outcomes we have for running an effective club meeting is we want to define really what an effective club meeting is, and how to conduct one successfully. Also set the atmosphere as well in your club. Each and every week, this needs to be done. And develop a structured agenda, and we'll talk about reasons why that's I think critical. And then the biggest thing about an effective club meeting, and I hope you all agree, and we can have a conversation about that, is the programs that you have at your meetings each week and how important those are. So what is a successful club meeting? This can be by a show of nods, smiles, grins. How many have you been to a meeting where you wanted to pull your fingernails out and just leave? How many of you been to a meeting that you stayed late, you never wanted it to end, and it had so much value, you were more disappointed you didn't invite more friends to the meeting? In my 18, I keep calling it 18, I think it's I've been calling it 18 years for about 5 years now, so I think it's might be getting to close to 20 years of Rotary. I've seen all different kinds of meetings. And as an assistant governor, we have the opportunity to go see a lot of different clubs and how they structure their meetings. I would say that we run at least in my area at any given time, about 50%, which I think can be fairly sad. I'm either having an amazing time at a club meeting, or I'm just watching the clock on when I can leave. So, you know, things for a successful meeting, oops, wrong way, is what I have found, and what Rotary International has found in our research, is professional preparation of each meeting, that it's not run by the seat of your pants. Now, I need to step back just a little bit. This presentation is for pets, but I tailored it for everybody. So at one point, this really is for how presidents can make an effective club meeting, but I truly think it's the club's meeting, and it's the club members that need to hold not only their leadership accountable to an effective club meeting, because this is our baby. It's not just the president's baby. And we're here to run alongside them and lift them up and help them with this Rotary year. Also, the proper staging of the club meeting, effective timing, and having compelling content, which really lends itself to our programs, which are, I think, very important. Yes.
I'm Jean Dillner. I've seen a lot of, I'm not a president, I'm on the board, but I'm not a president, but I've seen a lot of presidents who they've been chosen as president because they have such a compelling personality and they're fun, but once they become president, they get really anxious, like they're gonna screw up Rotary. Is there any training given to these poor people who were chosen because of their personality, a lot of it, and once they become president, it's not fun anymore because they're taking all of the things they have to do so seriously? How do you train the fun into a president, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, that's a great question, and hopefully that's what they get at PETS, which is, if you're new to Rotary, is President-elect Training Seminar in Seattle, and they spend 3 days going to have speakers and these types of training to engage them in, not, you know, there's people out there that are just fun and friendly, but you know, we all have different personality types, may not be a good manager of time, may not have, that's why I think the whole club has to get involved to support their president. And you bring up a good point. I tell presidents to lean heavily on their leadership team and make this a group effort for having an amazing, I always want to say, have an amazing Rotary year. This should not be hard work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody came into Rotary to do all the heavy lifting, although we know the 80-20 rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of what pets hopefully instills when they leave is, now I'll be perfectly transparent, they learn a lot in 4 days and they come out a little scatterbrained. And we're hoping some of this sticks with them. And quite frankly, they have really 1 year to get it done. And I believe they put too much pressure on themselves because, you know, the whole idea is to continue to grow Rotary, have effective club meetings so people want to join our club. How do we create that atmosphere that we are a magnet for folks that, you know, I really enjoyed what John Bushnell said, and I use that same example. It's not a good culture or it's not a good value to be saying, well, I was president because I missed a meeting. I really want the culture to turn into our club. I want to, you know, take it to the next level, if you will, or so those type of things. Does that kind of answer your question? So the training's out there.
Mm-hmm. I think what you said is true, that once it looks like it might be a fun thing to do. And then when they go and get all the training, then they're overwhelmed and forget the fun part.
It's exactly right. Yeah. They, you know, when Case Vanderpool was our district governor, he had the 3 F's, and there, you know, fun. There were so many of them, and it turned out to be about 20 F's, and it was everything to engage and have fellowship and fun in your year. And fine wine was one of them, you know. So it just kind of kept going. You know we want to have fun, but there's that fine line of getting silly and not being professional too. But you still can be professional and have fun. And part of this is just learning some key traits about setting the club atmosphere, setting the proper tone for a meeting. Keep in mind, new people come to our meeting, we're inviting potential new members, or we have a speaker from, you know, that we thought somebody at work or somebody in our neighborhood might enjoy because that's in their wheelhouse. And if they come to the meeting and they really see absolutely no structure, they'll key in on that. They're, you know, you got to give them a lot more credit. They'll know whether our meetings are being structured correctly. And the other thing that in a club meeting we tell people is, don't assume that everybody knows what's going on. If you bring somebody to a club meeting and they ring a bell and everybody stands up, or you have a different culture in your club meeting, it starts feeling a little cultish, and they're going, what's going on? You probably, if you invite somebody new or we have a new member, explain to them how a Rotary Club works, why we ring the bell, you know. Also, internal customer service in our club atmosphere. Some people are afraid to make announcements, and when they do, thank them for their participation. Thank them for, you know, joining in. We don't want people as wallflowers in our club. We want engagement in our clubs. Fun things. Sergeant at Arms are important to engage that fellowship, how happy bucks and things like that. We want to know if somebody's kid graduated. We want to celebrate when grandpa's got and grandma's got a new grandchild. We want to celebrate if somebody won an award. We look at our local newspaper. So those things need to be part of a club meeting. And then don't be afraid to politely tell people, like I said before, I think we all have a key role in an effective club meeting, especially if you're a club member. And some people take over the club, and that's not fair to the president, and it's not fair to the guests. That's why you have a structured and an atmosphere. And then continue to encourage to engage member input and involvement. Kind of see a fine line there. So it has to be of value, of substance. There's a time to get silly in clubs. There's a time to have fun. There's all sorts of time to do that stuff. So when is it appropriate to share the expectations to the general membership and have the general membership know what your expectation level of the club is? For folks that are just members to folks that are on the board to your president, I think this is a club decision. You need to share each Rotary year, maybe go over the core values, go over the four-way test, revisit what's working and what's not working in your club. And how this information is best shared is as a group, is get the group on board with how the clubs should be ran. Meeting management is really important for a few reasons, and why we have the agenda is I can tell you that some retired folks are probably busier than I am, and they've got things to do as well. So starting and ending a meeting on time is important. Doesn't mean you can't show up early and have extra fellowship. Doesn't mean you can't stay late and have extra fellowship. But what it truly does mean is if you have new people that came to the club and you're done at 1:30, let's say, and everybody's maybe done a little bit differently, is they're going to feel embarrassed to have to leave early. So end on time as they were told. Same thing when you have the speakers. They're on a schedule as well. We can't make really too many assumptions. But once again, on both bookends of this, doesn't mean you can't hang out and still have your fun at a Rotary meeting. And a structured agenda certainly helps keep it going. And then also, I think something that I've seen at clubs is they've done so much club business and then they gave the speaker a very short amount of time, and the speaker was, I would say it's just very uncomfortable for that speaker. If they prepared a 20-minute presentation and you give them 10 minutes, we don't think that's very good. So manage the meeting management. And if you think about, by maybe a show of hands, if you have a fairly large club, some of the clubs, if you have over a few hundred members, that's reining in a lot of cats, right? So it might be down to by the minute, or if it's a smaller club like ours with about 30 or 40 members, it's a little bit more fluid. So every club may be a little bit different. Tailor your weekly agenda to your club. So let's have a class discussion, because this honestly is probably the biggest thing I think that creates an effective club. Why are programs important? And I can't see everybody, so I'm going to rely on Jerry and Colleen if you want to raise your hand and chime in. Dell will call on you. Why do you think programs are so important during your club meetings?
They're interesting.
Yeah, they got to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
How many people, by a show of hands, don't have a lot of programs, that it's hard to get a speaker? Are you guys doing pretty good where you're getting speakers every week?
Not now. It's very difficult now because we're all socially distant, but we pretty well had in the cusp, we had a speaker at least three times out of 4, every month. So yeah, it was even in our small community of 1,500.
In case, how would you rate your speakers? Because you have a smaller community to get dynamic speakers.
Well, they range as every speaker, can ignite the audience, or they can put them to sleep. We've had the whole range. But we coach them, and we remind them that it is a small club, and it's often difficult for a speaker to speak to 6 people.
Absolutely.
It's much easier to speak to a larger crowd.
Absolutely.
At least that's what I found. But
John,
just before we go on, John, I am sending you, and I found it. You referred to the 20 Fs of a vibrant club.
Yes.
I've sent it to you, copy to Debbie. So please share with the people that are on this. Yeah, it brought back a lot of memories.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think in our club, we have, it depends on who the program person is, who's collecting the speakers. But what I enjoy the most is learning more about my own community and about opportunities for helping people. And I think we have, this week ago, we had our district attorney on, and he told, kind of explained the situation as it relates to COVID. So we've had some interesting characters here in our area relating to COVID. So, but you can't expect a speaker who doesn't do it as professional. You're not expecting them to be professional, but at least prepared.
Absolutely. Well, one of the main reasons that we believe programs are important is also because it brings new people back. If they get value out of coming to a Rotary Club meeting for the first time, and like we said, some speakers, it depends on if it's something that interests them or if they're learning something new, that's going to be more impactful. But programs are important to not only the club's vibrancy, but they're important to membership and growing membership. The entire club experience really kind of tailors around membership and retention. People want to be a part of something. Like you had said, you want to learn some things about your community. What I'll give you a couple of examples, and if anybody else out there has some examples, just like you were saying about your COVID speaker, we can think outside the box. We had a bomb sniffing dog come to one of our meetings through the police department. And they had put a drop of oil on the bottom of my shoe, and they used me as the test. Nobody in the club knew that this person did it. He caught me outside the door before I got in the meeting and asked me if I would be part of his example. And he asked me to walk around briefly around the room, remember where I walked, and then go sit down. And he said, I hate to ask you this, but then try not to move for the rest of the meeting. So I walked around the meeting in a little S curve through the tables, sat down, had my lunch. He did his program, and then he let the dog he had told somebody he had set up the dog on one of the people in the meeting, and the dog literally went through the entire S curve that I walked through there and came right up to me and sat up and pointed at me. And, it just created a very unique program for our club. And then also we have people who are in Rotary, like Joe Bruce, who work for NASA. And I can tell you, if you want to see anybody over the age of 50 turn into an 8-year-old kid when he brings a moon rock into and a spacesuit, we all kind of, dip into our childhood, and that we were all just appealed to Joe during his presentation. And so have you experienced some programs like that where you just think, and in case, there's times where we've had in the summertime where our membership attendance is low, and you kind of you feel bad that more people didn't see this wonderful program?
We've had some really compelling programs even since the start of our club meeting on Zoom. And it has it's kind of broken down some barriers and created some unexpected access. The director of the health department here locally was able to be our speaker week 1, which was, and then she's come back and given us updates. That was fascinating. I think that The club meeting that I remember the most was when I was a guest before I joined Rotary about 12 years ago. And it was one of the club members, and he flew in Vietnam, and he was shot down, and he shared the story of him being shot down and the nights that he spent on the ground before he was heroically rescued. And that created a connection. He also at the time happened to be the publisher of the local newspaper, and I mean, a really prominent local figure. And this was such an intensely personal story. And it created just an instant connection and awe of the cumulative experiences that make us who we are. And I joined because I wanted access to that kind of connection with people.
I love that story. And that's exactly just proof positive how people can get engaged in Rotary. And I'll take it one step further, and I think I missed a pretty big point, is we have some very unique and amazing people who are current in our current clubs that we don't know anything about. And when we have classification talks, which I can consider a program, you can make somebody in your own club their own program. And it's interesting because I think we do classification talks more for new people so everybody else can get to know them, but we have to remember they don't know the tenured members anything about them. So we have to recycle these classification talks, and similarly get to know our tenured members. We have founding members in our club that have 50 years perfect attendance, and new people just don't know their backstory. And when they get up, we are just eye appealed to them as we are other program speakers. So when I have this question down, where do you get great program ideas? It might be right in the same room.
We have,
Yeah, go ahead.
we have, I'm not a long-term member, but it seems that there's repetition. Do the same thing at this time of the year every year. And we have a wonderful program chairman who's very diligent about making sure there's people talk, but goes to the same places. Any ideas on how to break out of the mold?
Yes, I do. We fall under that sometimes as well. And I think there's just going to be a small percentage of what our club has, if there's any repetitiveness to our programs, is we usually take the check presentation portions because, one, we want to make sure that all the nonprofits we're giving back to have an opportunity to speak, because there are some new people in the club that we want them to know why we're working so hard and diligent for these organizations. So those are the ones that we usually allow to repeat. But when we got stale, interestingly enough, this was by happenstance, I kept watching another club's Facebook page, and their speakers were way better than the speakers we were getting, and we're in the same community. So I called over at that club, and Mike immediately sent me names and numbers. And so this depends on topography and where you are with neighboring clubs, but let's help each other. We call it aggressively borrowing ideas. You can call it stealing, but I would aggressively borrow other people's programs when you see them and visit other clubs and have program chairs talk to each other. How are your programs going? And maybe for the same ones, John, that they repeat a little bit, haven't been repeated at some other clubs, and they would like to have the contact information for those folks. So that could be one way. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I heard someone talk about now that we're doing meetings by Zoom, we're not limited to just our community, and that talking to the club members about people they know who might be relatively famous that could come on and speak as well. And that could get more people onto the Zoom and involved again.
That's a good idea. Bill, you had your hand up.
Yes, I just want to make a comment that's not that positive, but if our program chairman could talk to people before they come to make their presentation to be prepared and not arrive 5 minutes before the meeting starts and then start setting up their computer and their laptop and screen, and they never get it going and everybody's sitting there watching and waiting for them. I think if we could encourage them to come a half hour before the meeting and make sure it's all set up would be a good thing to do.
Absolutely. And that goes back to club atmosphere, right? That's not creating a good club atmosphere for having an effective club meeting if
Yeah.
people are sitting around. So yeah, besides the fun that we want to have, we want to be prepared. We want to be prepared and on time. So, you know, and those are things that when you have your club meeting days, when there's no speaker and you're going over club business, I think that's the time. I think one of the slides says, when do we talk about our, you know, that could be a good time to talk about that and roll that out. Not being harmful, we're being helpful, right? We just want to make sure our clubs are being ran effectively. So when people come, now that's, your club is sitting there and viewing that. We hopefully don't have a new member in the crowd doing, you know, doing the same thing. Now we know things are going to happen, right? We, you know, and people give people grace, but if it happens all the time, change the rules. Sit down and say, listen, club, we got to be better than this. You know, let's. How can I help? How can I help fix? I'll come a half hour early. I'll bring my computer if the, you know, those type of things. So if we can all, you know, jump on board and line up with each other and see how we can make that happen. Yeah, Bill, I think that's a good point. It is, and it happens.
It's not always the program chairman's fault. He might have asked the person to be there a half hour early and they show up 5 minutes before. So I'm not blaming the program chairman, but sometimes that needs to be a bigger emphasis.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think whenever possible that it's a reasonable idea to have someone who is slated to speak to the club attend a club meeting before they're scheduled to speak. Either particularly right now during this time to watch how it flows and how it works, but certainly in normal times it's just an opportunity. If you are so our program chair, when he invites people to speak, then asks one of the club members to sponsor them for lunch and have them come and attend another meeting and send them a list of who the presenters are before they're scheduled to speak, if there's time to do that, and let them choose a meeting that they may be interested in.
Absolutely. Yeah, we know things are going to happen, but I think having some good ideas, as I say, this breakout session is to start that out of the box thinking process, right? Like John said, you know, if you're seeing the same thing over and over and over again, that's not effective club meeting, you know. And now you're going to have some new members. Hopefully, you're growing your club. But here, you know, once again, as John Bushnell pointed out, things may not be the same. This Spring Assembly Conference started when Bob, Lynn, and Ed and I all were having a breakfast about Zoom meetings and all the things that were going to be canceled at the convention and how that was affecting our world. I turned around and said, you know, I'm in an industry where we did this before COVID-19. You know, we've been, it was a GoToMeeting. Zoom wasn't as popular, let's put it that way, but similar situations, but it also creates opportunity. And as it was just pointed out, that we can invite speakers from all over the world. And so I said, at our company, we've had these meetings from people all over the world, and they've had speakers, and I've sat through these seminars via the internet, and why couldn't we have a Spring Assembly online? And we're sitting there talking about canceling it. Then that got me to thinking, which I thought was very interesting. Some of the Zoom club meetings still have no structure. and it's kind of like a little bit of fellowship, a little bit of joking, and oh, by the way, can we get a financial report? A little bit of fellowship, a little bit of joking. Oh, by the way, how are we doing? Are we, they'll talk about the next event, and is that going to happen because of what's going on right now? My thought process is, let's fast forward and let's just imagine everything's fine a year from now, or 6 months from now, we hope, hopefully a month from now, that some people that can't join in meetings, you could still have, and this is thinking outside the box, you could still have a in-person meeting with your big screen up where people could join in. How many of you have worked for places that have had to, I can't make the meeting, but they put you on a conference call to join in on the meetings?
Yep.
And still have the engagement? Let's just, could it work? Could it not work? We haven't tried it yet, right? So how about a mix of a live and people on the meeting? Or that being said, you're at a meeting and the speaker is from New York and is a polio survivor, and you put that person live on the big screen. I really believe this opens up a whole lot of opportunity and positiveness to what we can take away from what we've been utilizing so far. What are your thoughts on that?
John,
Yeah.
just a reminder that at our district conference in the cusp in 2017, we actually Skyped one of our speakers in from Santiago, Chile, and it was interactive, and she went way over her time because the audience was so enthralled with what she had to say, and she was answering questions, and it was really great. She was one of the first speakers I wanted to have at my conference, and she said she couldn't make it. I said, so I still want you there. So, and it worked out. Luckily, we had great sound, and that's a key thing if you're going to do this, is to make sure that the sound and the visuals are perfect.
Absolutely. I remember that conference.
No, John, this is Jerry. What your point is really important, because I think when the clubs start having face-to-face meetings, returning to that format, not everybody's going to rush to that immediately. There's going to be all kinds of reasons why people aren't comfortable, they're got other things going, whatever. And I think continuing with the some type of a Zoom type internet connection that people can join in there, and as Keith just said, good technology, that's an important piece of that. But I think it's a way of not only continuing something, but it's a good way to retain membership and increase participation in your meetings. And,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's, and we have 2 clubs in my area that are actually pursuing setting that up at their meetings with a large screen. They're working on it technologically to see how they could go about doing that.
And as John Bushnell pointed out, it's not going to be the same, and that could be a good thing, right?
That's right.
That could be a very good thing.
Yeah.
So if, one of the things that clubs might have to be thinking about right now is that technology piece. And as Bill, as you were saying, I know that we ended up springing for a new computer because so many different speakers came in some came in actually with a floppy disk. I thought that was kind of interesting. But having that conversation with them on what the equipment is makes the club meeting experience go a lot smoother. If you get a piece of equipment that can handle just about anybody else's needs, and it takes a lot of pressure off the speaker that way as well. So this is thinking outside the box. How do we move forward from here? And my point also being is, as some of the clubs are using an agenda, running an effective club meeting from Zoom, I think the rules really haven't changed. It still should be ran effectively. The things that need to be achieved should be on the agenda. Reports for the club. We can't forget about our our bylaws and what needs to be done. As one of the main reasons we really are excited about having the meeting is the president-elects are going to have a vote later on this afternoon via this spring assembly, which we normally would have done anyhow, as we're having an official assembly. And I just am super excited we got to be able to put this together. So we're breaking into new territory right now. And we can't, I believe, can't let our foot off the gas pedal at this point. And so if you're president or not a president or on the board or not on the board, I think it's all our responsibility is to help our club and not look at it from a leadership perspective, but how are you, we look at it from a club experience and how can we help our leaders be better? And if you are a leader, I always look at pre and post reports on everything I do. I'll do that after this. Could we have done this a little bit better for our next assembly? We didn't know. We originally said we would do 20 minutes and 20 minutes of questions. So I cut my slide presentation way back because this is supposed to be, there's a lot more to effective club meetings, but we didn't have the time. And I just made the decision not to mute everybody and let you talk. So this seems to be working out. We're testing the waters here a little bit, and I love it. So keeping in with the theme of running an effective club meeting, now we need to make a transformation into, at least for now, how to run an effective club Zoom meeting, right?
There are hands going up for people to say something to John.
Okay, go ahead. I can't see them, so I'm going to rely on Jerry and Colleen to find them.
Norm was first.
John, this is Norm. My question actually is leading into what you're about to talk about. We've got a club of about 60, and our Zoom meetings we're getting between 22 and 25. And our technology is great. The technology at people's homes is not great. We have internet connection problems. We have older folks that don't want to do it. They don't even want to phone in. So our biggest concern is we're not really connecting with them, and we're concerned about July the 1st when they may or may not renew their membership because they've been a few months without any club meetings or input from Rotary.
So now I think I heard you say towards the last there, they don't even want to phone in.
Yeah, they're not comfortable with that. They're used to club meetings.
Gotcha.
We have that similar in the cusp as well.
Yeah, there's basically, I've visited about 8 clubs so far, and I'm finding that I can just relate to my club, which was a very interesting dynamic. We have per age group is a pretty young club, but we still have our fair amount of tenured members. I don't like to say the word old, tenured, very distinguished. And what I found was our younger members weren't joining and some of the tenured members were joining, and it was interesting. And then when I went to a different club, it was just the opposite. So Norm, I can definitely relate to the fact that if they, like Deb Dawkins, doesn't have a very strong internet at her home, and that can be certainly frustrating, especially if they want to join and then you find them frozen on the screen for half the time. That's got to be just absolutely frustrating. I don't know what the fix is there. The only thing I could say is that the ones that weren't joining our clubs at the time, now we didn't have technological problems here in Spokane. Internet's fairly strong, but we did health checks on one-on-one with them to see how they're doing.
Exactly.
So we're kind of hopefully just going to continue to work with them one-on-one until we can encourage them to continue to try to show up. I have another one after this, which is growing vibrant clubs, and part of that is the engagement piece and how we can continue to get them engaged. And just hopefully remind them that why, what was their why? Why did they join Rotary? Tag along with them, see how we can help them to continue to have that vision in their head. And this, like you said, this may not be how it's going to be forever, but can you hang in there till we figure out how this thing ends up? Might be a good conversation to have if they can't join us now. I wish I had to answer for that, Norm. I don't know. Go ahead with the hands. I still can't see anybody.
Deborah?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Debbie Ford. I'm a member of Sandpoint Rotary. And I had a couple things. First, to the point we were just talking about, I would echo the thoughts about one-on-one connections. I think what we're doing essentially within each of our clubs is we're kind of redefining what service even is. And I think we're seeing a time when we need to serve each other. And there are those that either can't connect technologically or are just way too uncomfortable communicating this way. So I think to almost put into place, for lack of a better word, almost a mentorship, and maybe it's kind of more appropriately a reverse mentorship, because many of the folks that are reluctant to meet this way are the folks that were our guides as we first joined. So it feels like it's now a time to kind of reverse that and just help folks, whether that's, finding a way to meet somewhere where there's internet connectivity and just attend a meeting together, as a couple people, socially distancing, whatever it takes. I mean, there's ways to do this. So anyway, I would echo that rather extreme need that we're facing right now. And then what I was also going to comment on is, in John's session, we briefly acknowledged the fact that Rotary International is now officially aligned with Toastmasters International. And I happen to be the president of the Sandpoint Toastmasters Club too. And we have a rather vibrant Toastmasters group here in town. And I'm so excited about how this new alignment is going to support both international organizations. What Toastmasters is about is speaking and leadership. And, we're trying to take the lead on how to provide a platform for public speaking when we can't get together face to face. So, we're just kind of at the forefront of this, trying to troubleshoot this internationally. So I see real potential for Rotary and Toastmasters to get together and even in terms of leadership curriculum, that came up in John's session too. I helped Debbie with RILA, and we have a pretty vibrant mini RILA here in the Sandpoint area. And these kids, the whole idea is training and leadership. And I've had club members from my Rotary club come to me and go, I talked to them about our curriculum for mini RILA, and they go, well, I want to learn about that. So I don't know if there might even be a future to really take a deeper dive from a leadership perspective to help, support vibrancy in our Rotary clubs and really onboarding new members, because they're thirsty for this stuff.
I agree.
Anyway, that's all.
Good. Great comments, Deborah. I love it. Thank you for interjecting.
Sarah.
I think this is the reverse problem of engaging our younger members. And there's an interesting opportunity in that just occurred to me. In that reverse mentorship role, the potential of pairing younger Rotarians and if you are fortunate enough to have a Rotaract club in your community, pairing a Rotaract club member with a member who is uncomfortable but doesn't have the other barriers of access to joining other than resistance, but doesn't maybe have, even those that have the technology access. But there's an opportunity there, I think, to connect them. And Rotaractors, you know, universally they have, I mean, they have so much to offer, and they're looking to connect and find ways that they can to contribute significantly. And this is a unique moment with opportunities for that, I think.
Thank you, Sarah. No, it is. I totally agree. Yeah, we're thinking about, you know, how is this a positive and how we can create this as a positive, sure, you know. Anybody else next? We got a few more minutes before I'll wrap her up. Jerry, Colleen?
Don't see anyone.
Bill Fury has his hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment again, like for Norm's issue, same thing we have in our club. I suggested to our club that we have a few people phone everyone who has not been at the meeting, our Zoom meeting, and try and help them to get back on and help them work there. But there hasn't been that much enthusiasm to do that. Myself and 2 others did phone some, but still we need to follow up with them. And I like the idea of mentoring and assigning someone to look after them. I think that's a great idea.
Well, and to go one step further, maybe they aren't going to be able to engage in Rotary at this time for whatever reason, and maybe they have some true issues of to where I can't remember who said it, but this is part of our service, and we're still servicing our club members. And if somebody was assigned to somebody and they needed groceries or they needed help at their home, I think this is an amazing time for us to help those that at least once we're in or just want to take a little hiatus, but we certainly stay in touch with them for now. And then when things get different, we were top of mind at that point, and we were helping them out, and then hopefully they come back around. And just engaging the club members that can do. Have them get out there and help. So, well, we have about 10 minutes, so I just want to review real quick the key elements that are defining an effective club meeting. And we started off with how we want to make this an enjoyable experience for everybody, an educational experience for everybody. Part of the success of the meeting is somebody walks away with, man, I learned a lot. I enjoyed the people I was with, and that was a great meeting. So if the atmosphere is set right, and we're looking at the times that were started on time, ended on time, and we got value out of that meeting, we're batting 1,000. So I want to just a quick reminder here. Just thank you for spending your Saturday with Rotary today. You're awesome Rotarians. You just proved that. You're going to be looking at the next link where you're going, which is on the email that Debbie sent out last night sometime around midnight. So she's been working pretty hard. That's the latest link you'll go to. Yeah, thank you for being great Rotarians. So I just really do. I hope you can be the change maker to create an effective club meeting for your club. Doesn't matter you're not the president. Doesn't matter you're not maybe on the board, or if you are, but do it as a club. Just really do it together. So thank you folks very much. This will give you time for a break. Go freshen up your cup of coffee, and then hopefully you'll stick around for the next breakout sessions that are there.
Well, thanks very much, John. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.